Dave Palumbo here with another RX Muscle Rant. Today's topic, growth hormone. How does it work? Why does it take so long to work? And what are all the pitfalls you should look out for? Well, I get so many questions every single week about growth hormone, and guys that have never even worked out, they're already looking to take growth hormone. People want to know what it does, how it works, how long does it take to kick in, all these great things. And the truth of the matter is that nothing will ever replace anabolic steroids for the most bang for your buck. For the price and for the time they take to work, which is very short, they build muscle the best. But what growth hormone does, it's different. It's a protein hormone. It binds to protein surface receptors. Okay, it doesn't bind to nuclear receptors like steroidal molecules do. And what growth hormone does is it doesn't make existing muscles get bigger. It actually creates new muscle tissue from stem cells. We used to call these cells satellite cells. This was like undifferentiated clumps of stuff that would sit next to the normal muscle cells. Now we know that we call them stem cells. And what growth hormone does is it tells these stem cells to turn into muscle fibers. The problem is that these very immature, very tiny stem cells, okay, when growth hormone activates them, they're microscopic, they're small. They don't have any size to them yet. So you don't see the results of this new muscle tissue occurring. And this muscle, I guess you could say, transformation process that occurs is known as hyperplasia, which is the production of new muscle cells, not hypertrophy, which is the increasing in size of existing cells. So growth hormone does these things differently than steroids do. And the truth is that GH doesn't really directly cause any muscle growth. Growth hormone is broken down by the liver, and then the liver releases a hormone known as IGF-1, or insulin-like growth factor 1, which is what causes that hyperplasia to occur. So it's an indirect process via the effects of GH. Now, everyone converts GH into IGF-1 in the liver at different rates. So if one guy takes 2 IUs of growth hormone a day, he might convert X units into IGF-1. Another guy takes the same 2 units of growth hormone and he converts it into 2X amounts of IGF-1. So the same dosage in 2 different people can be converted into more or less IGF-1, which is why some people respond better to growth hormone than others. And that's also the theory why theoretically taking IGF-1 would be better, because you don't have to worry about how much IGF-1 the liver produces. You can take a direct source of it. The problem is when you take too much IGF-1 directly, your receptors stop responding to it because it overwhelms the system. So to get back to growth hormone and how it works, we know that you take the growth hormone, the liver breaks it down, it releases a hormone known as IGF-1. IGF-1 then goes looking for IGF-1 receptors, which can be found in the largest densities of populations on damaged muscle tissue. So when you go to the gym and you break down muscle tissue and say your bicep muscles because you just did an arm workout, those cells now are trying to send out a signal for repair. They create more IGF-1 receptors. The IGF-1 that's in your body naturally and or from a shot of growth hormone you might have taken will then go to those areas, bind to those receptors, and activate those muscle fibers and the satellite cells around them to start producing new muscle tissue. The problem is you can't see this new tissue because it's so small. So what happens? How do we finally see the results of what GH does? Well, as time goes on and as you train your muscles, these new cells start to get bigger. Okay? How long does it take before the cells that you're producing today will get big enough for you to actually notice it? Well, you know what? In my estimation and in my experience, and from what I've seen on my own body and other people's bodies, it seems like there's a 6-month lag. And that's why you hear sometimes people say it takes 6 months to see the results of GH. It's not that the GH is not working from this first shot you take. It is. It's just that you don't see the new cells get large enough where you actually notice it. So I know some guys will do like 8 weeks of GH and then go off of it. And then like all of a sudden, like half a year later, they're like, you know what, I'm growing better now than when I took the GH. Well, buddy, you're finally seeing the results of the cells that you produced 6 months earlier when you took the GH. And that's really the misnomer of why people don't see the actual growing effects of GH as effectively or as quickly as they do from steroids, because there's a delay. Once again, steroids will make those existing cells get bigger, but they don't cause new muscle tissue to develop. Likewise, if you combine steroids with GH, the effects of the GH you see faster. Why? Because the steroids are making those immature new muscle cells get bigger faster, just like weight training will. So if you just took growth hormone and it didn't work out at all, you probably would never see the muscle building effects of them. Why? Because there's nothing making those cells get bigger. You need a resistance training. You need to overload those muscles. You need to put a strain on them. You need to eat a high amount of protein. You need to do things that would warrant your body adding muscle mass to it, okay? And when your body adds muscle mass, it adds it to all the cells. If you now have an additional 10% extra cells from taking growth hormone, guess what? Now you got more potential, more genetic potential to get bigger. That's why it's also said that growth hormone can change the genetics of your body. I'm sure that over the years of my growth hormone usage, I probably increased my ability to put muscle in areas that I never would have been able to. I mean, I didn't have genetically big arms when I first started. They were small. They were ripped, but they were small. And at my peak, I had 22-inch arms. So, I mean, obviously something helped. Obviously, it was a combination of weight training, eating right, taking the right, performance-enhancing steroids and growth hormone. But it's putting everything together that really, gives you the equation that you're looking for. But once again, growth hormone is not a miracle, drug. It's very expensive, especially real growth hormone. And you know what the truth of the matter is? You're not going to get as much bang for your buck, like I said, as you will from anabolics. So if you're on a limited budget, don't go mortgage your house to take growth hormone, okay? It's not going to answer your prayers. It's not going to give you miracles, okay? If you can afford it and you can find legitimate growth hormone, whether it be through a doctor or whatever other means you use, go for it. But you know what? It's not worth spending your life savings on, because you're going to get way less out of it than you think you are. It sounds like a way more glamorous drug than it really is, and it's just not. It's probably more impressive as a life extension type of drug than it is at building massive amounts of muscles. Guys on the Olympia stage who have tons of muscle already and they add that into the mix, it kind of just ignites things and makes it work better. But it's not the end all and do all and the solution to your problems. That's what I'm trying to impart here. Hopefully you guys got a little education on what growth hormone does. Next time, we'll talk about why it's important in certain circumstances to take insulin with growth hormone and how that works and synergizes the growth hormone's effects. For now, I'm Dave Palumbo, though, with an RX Muscle Rant.